Hello and welcome back to 1 Hour Away. I'm your host Jonathan, and this episode is an hour away from JQ, featuring JQ. On
Hello.
today's episode, I have a very special guest. His name is JQ. Well, we call him JQ, but his name is Joseph. Hey, Joseph, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you, Jonathan?
I'm doing pretty good, pretty good. How have you been?
I've been good. It's a lot of life transitions lately.
Oh, really?
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, like last month, and we'll get into myself in a second, but last month I went through this whole thing of like, oh, I had finals week. I graduated that same week. My birthday week was also that same week, and then a week after I moved up to OKC, um, where I almost got hit by a tornado.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
after I hid in the bathroom for an hour, I went to work to start my new job the next day.
Oh,
So
really? That's good.
yeah, pretty much. So a lot of stuff happened in that 1 month, but I've been up here in OKC getting used to some new changes. Um, but yeah, I'm feeling pretty nice and stable right now.
That's good. So, as you mentioned before, let how we'll get to know you. Now, I guess this is the time now, man. So,
Yeah.
can we have some backstory? Let's have some backstory,
Y-
man.
Yeah. So let's see. Where do I start? Well, I guess I'll talk about how I met your family.
Yeah, let's
And
talk about
connected
that.
with
Let's
you.
talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is church in our college town, Swasu. Um,
Yep. Yep. I
I
remember
went
that.
there one day, and I think it was like right before Easter, which is kind of like giant holiday for the church.
Yep. Yep.
Um, but I was there, and then I see like this, like middle aged lady, and
Middle
I
age.
saw a couple kids
Dang.
with her, and I looked at them and I was like, as a Vietnamese American, I was like, oh, they're Viet.
Oh
I could
yeah.
just see it. I
Yeah.
got the eyes for it. Um, so I'm like, okay, I could just tell like this like college town is primarily like Caucasian and Mexican demographic.
Yeah.
Um,
So my
so
family just
when you
stuck
see
out,
an
right?
Asian, you're like, oh, we got Asians here. So I look at him and then like the little one of the little kids, like he's like 7. He runs up to me and he hugs my leg and he's
Oh.
like, "My name's Jacob. What's yours?" And I'm like, "I think I know what to do." So I'm like, I can do this because I'm Viet. So I'm like, hey, I'm Joseph, but you can call me Guang, and that's like my Viet name.
Mhm.
And then like the middle-aged lady turns around, she's their mom, and she's like, "Oh, you're Vietnamese?" And it's so funny because she goes up to me and she's like, "I've seen you here for like 3 years, and I thought you were Mexican or an Indian, like one of those."
I
And I'm
thought the
like, "Dang,
same. I thought
well."
the same.
It
Yeah.
was funny because I was like, well, those two options weren't even close.
Well, we were
One's a
all
little South Asian. I'm a little on the east side. Um, but after that, like, and this is, and for the audience, this is Jonathan's mom. Just
yeah.
like the rest of Jonathan's like siblings. She, was like, hey, let's go eat together. So she took me to a restaurant. And then I was telling her, I grew up
Mm.
in this hometown. Not to dox anything, but basically, she tells me, "Oh, I grew up in a town like that was like 15 minutes away from yours.
Oh
What's your
yeah.
mom's name?"
Uh,
And I'm like,
Katie.
"Oh,
Katie.
my mom.
Yeah.
She goes by Go Through It. She works at Sam's Club."
Mm,
And she's
that was
like,
your
"Show me
mom.
a picture." So I get out the picture, and she is like, "Oh my gosh, I knew your mom 15 years ago when I lived right there. We used to go to the Sam's Club." So I call my mom right there, and they talk like for 15 minutes. I'm just with your siblings, like eating and watching them like talk to each other. um, it's crazy. So that's how we found out, like, oh, our families used to know each other a long time ago.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. That was a crazy experience.
it was, and then we go to church that following Sunday, which
Oh
was
yeah.
not that much after.
No,
Um, it's
that's
your
what.
whole family, and your dad's
Yeah.
there too. And we finished church, and he's like, "We go eat. You us, we go eat."
Hey,
So
hey, yo, calm down with the accent, man.
it's true, man. That's what it was.
So
It was
yeah.
very welcoming, very sweet. We ate at the same buffet that we did just a few days prior.
Wait,
We talked,
this time your
and
friend
he
was with
knows
us, right?
I don't think your grandma was
No,
there.
no, no, not my grandma. My friend. Your friend. Your friend.
Oh yes, my roommate.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
my
Your
roommate
roommate. Your
Christian.
roommate. Yeah.
Also Viet was there with us. But yeah, we were all there together, and I think the intention was to like ask me and my roommate for college advice
Oh
because we
yeah.
were seniors ready to graduate real soon.
That's when.
Um,
That's when I was about to go in.
yeah, that was around the time you were about to start college. So I get my college advice, and then I think it got to a point where he was like, "Oh yeah, I knew your dad." Like your dad was like, he knew my dad. So I call my dad, and then your dad takes my phone. He goes outside.
Oh yeah, I
They're like
remember that.
talking together for like 15 minutes, and we're just getting along. Um, but basically, like that at the end of that meal, he was like, "Hey, I if I knew you were here, I would have let you stay over." And we're like, "It's okay, we're about to graduate, so it's no worries." He's like, "Well, if you ever need a place, um, you can call one of us, and we'll let you stay. You could be our new son."
Oh yeah, I
um,
remember that. That's a
yeah,
wild. That was wild.
it was wild, and it felt like yesterday, honestly. But
Really? Yeah.
but yeah, it was really close. But I didn't think about it because I was ready to graduate anyway. But for some ungodly reason, I finished my undergrad, I finished my internship, and I was like, you know what? I liked the town we were in, and I liked the college. Let's go for my master's. And I don't know why I thought that, but I wanted to study more. I wanted to,
I mean, it was a
but I
wild.
did that,
It was a wild
and I
time,
was like,
man.
it was, yeah,
Yeah.
2 years of study, um, 2 additional years of study to be exact. But I was like, well, I need a place to stay, and apartments like are not looking easy to find, and I wanted to be with people I could trust.
Hmm.
And I remembered that your dad mentioned, "Oh, I can stay with you all."
Oh
So I
yeah.
talked about with my family, who then talked with your family, and we made the deal.
Oh
So I
yeah.
stayed. Yeah, for our audience, I stayed with Jonathan's family. Basically as his like as their new brother for
Yeah.
2 years.
2 years. It
Um,
was a wild 2 years, guys.
it,
It was a
it
wild.
was it was very fitting, like just like a perfect fit because well, Jonathan, his initial is like J, right? And I'm Joseph, so I'm also a J. And the naming scheme for all his siblings are also J's.
Oh yeah.
So
So we were the
yeah,
J
it was just
crew.
yeah, it was a natural fit. And
Yeah. It
not
was,
only that, our last names are Win, so it was just a win-win situation, like all
oh
around.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So let's also talk about like some of the things that we did over the past 2 years that you were living with us.
Oh, oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one did you have in mind?
We can talk about the youth group that we're in. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, basically, when I stay with Jonathan's family, they introduced me to a lot of things. There is this youth group at a church in OKC we call Tunyi Tangte, or
Well,
in
well,
English we call that the VEYM, which is the Vietnamese Eucharistic Youth Movement.
yeah.
Um, yeah, we're just a bunch of like Vietnamese Catholics that do a lot of team building exercises, build faith,
Hmm.
all of that. Um, Very like meaningful work within the group. So but they're like, hey, like I know there's not a lot of Vietnamese people here, but we drive up to the city every Sunday to see more Vietnamese people. And they're like, would you like to come with us? And I'm like,
Technically, I
sure.
was I was the one that dragged you along.
Yeah, you were very insistent on it.
Like
Um,
I grabbed you
yeah,
by the collar and I dragged you. I was like, I'm suffering right now. You're gonna suffer with me."
that's right. I got that dog in me, bro.
Oh yeah. Oh
So,
yeah.
but yeah, he takes me up there, and we meet like the director of everything, and they're like, "Oh, would you like to join, VYN or Tunyi?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm not sure. I just started grad school, and I'm gonna be a busy guy." I was also not just like a grad student; I was also a graduate assistant.
Oh yeah.
So I had a job at the school, a full time job at the school, like 20 hours on top of my schoolwork. So I was like, I'm not sure, but maybe I can give it a few days and see where it turns out. And here I am now. I'm still in it. It's
He gave it a few
very great.
days. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how I joined a TNTT. Is what we'd like to call it. But yeah, it's the one for me that I like to choose. So we stayed along with that, and it's been great. I've gotten along with everyone well over there. Um, and I'm not a very formal Vietnamese or a formal Catholic. I learned at a like very like at a like Vietnamese like Sunday school in
Hmm.
Tulsa, where it wasn't very like organized or very professional. It was just a lot of volunteer teachers.
Yeah.
Um, so I didn't, pick up too much. So here I'm constantly learning new things, but I'm in a community that's like, hey, let's nickname this guy JQ because you have so many Josephs here. And like, hey, like, this guy like plays music, like probably more than all of us. Like, but this
Hmm.
is cool, a new community member, and I feel very welcomed here, and I love
Yeah.
it a lot.
Well,
So
that's glad
it's
to
been
hear.
good.
That's glad to hear.
Yeah, and able to connect with so many people through our time here. Like I've made friends in Texas, Kansas,
Hmm.
um, I think as far as like Nebraska even too. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah. I remember that.
yeah, people from around. So I'm a guy that likes to get around. So like this was definitely a good fit for me. But
Was
yeah,
it? Was
Tuni
it?
Tangte, really good stuff. So
Yeah, it was a good fit. We really enjoyed it. But like for the first like I want to say for the first 2 months you were kind of struggling there,
oh yeah, no, it was so much
and
work.
there was a reason behind it. You want to tell them about that reason?
Let me try to remember if I know like
S-
exactly what you're talking about. I just
Starts.
remembered it being so busy
It
because I
starts
was
with
adjusting
a.
to a lot of grad school work and then
It start.
TNTT.
I'll give you a hint. It's another word for a hat.
Hat, hat.
A
It's
hat, and it also starts with a C.
a cap.
Oh, now
A,
yeah, you got that word. You got that word.
it was cap.
Cap. Now
Okay.
add a number one behind it, and like Vietnamese it up.
Oh, Gabmo. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Gabmo. Okay, I was okay.
yeah.
You said 2 months in, but I was like, Gabmo wasn't for like another, I think 8 or 9 months for me.
No,
Um,
no. The training started for you like 4 months in, I believe.
yeah.
But like it felt like
So
two. Yeah.
yeah,
I
I
don't
can
know.
talk about that.
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about that
Gabmo
one.
is so basically we have like kind of a hierarchy of
Yeah,
scarves within our like thing. We're kind of like glorified Boy Scouts. We're not Boy Scouts, but it's you. So some people like to your average person like they will think Boy Scouts because of
yeah.
how we dress. Um,
Yeah.
but there's
Yeah.
different rankings for scarves depending on how old you are. So like if you're a younger, like if you're a kid, you got a green scarf. If you're like a
Let's
tween, like
yeah.
a little closer to 10 to
Like
12,
yeah,
maybe like you get a blue scarf.
yeah.
If you're above that, you get a yellow, which is like
That's
mid
like
teenagers.
middle school age, middle school slash like pre junior high,
Yeah, like close to high school.
and
Yeah.
then brown
And then once you're
brown.
in high school or past adult, there's technically two ranks for it, but
Yeah,
it's basically like brown scarf
yeah,
collectively.
brown. And then like when
Um,
you're over 18, that's when you get the brown red scarf.
yeah, we call that hipsy jungtang. It's like a brown scarf, like you're brown, but you get a
Brown.
red stripe.
Yeah,
And the reason it's a little addition to it is because the rank that's supposed to be after that is
is
when you become a youth leader to help raise kids to become youth leaders or to raise them in their faith, basically.
yeah.
And we call that like a huinjung, which is a red scarf.
Yep.
So that's why you don't just go from brown scarf to like a red scarf.
So
If you're like older than
yeah.
that. So
So
they're like, well, you're not
yeah.
a youth leader yet, but you still got to learn. So
Hmm.
I was
So
the
yeah,
brown
let me
scarf
give
with the red
you
stripe.
yeah. Let me give the audience some context because I feel like you've been talking a lot.
Oh, go ahead.
So when you first join our organization, it's not really like you are a youth leader. You have to start and be trained as like someone's like in the group first, then you can become a leader. So like during this time, I was already a Hinjung or like a youth leader. So when I dragged JQ in, he wasn't really like a youth leader yet. He was a youth leader in training. That's what we called the brown and red scarf. The brown scarf with the red stripes. So yeah. So I'll let you continue with the story.
Okay, you're good. No, we're finding this balance because like I'm telling my story, but at the same time you're hosting too.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's like it's kind of hard to hear each other because right now we're like on a Discord call. So and like
oh
we're
yeah,
not
for
connected
sure.
with like mics and stuff. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but basically, the adults at the organization were very eager for me
Oh
to
yeah.
become a youth leader.
Me too.
Yeah, but part of it was because one, we needed more youth leaders because this is a like Toonie at this church is relatively new. Um,
I believe we're turning 8 year old next year. Yeah.
yes, we're approaching our 8th anniversary.
Oh yeah.
Um, so yeah, so that's why the director was like, "Oh, we'd love for you to be a leader," uh, because they would like the extra help.
Oh
And I
yeah.
also provided a lot of skill sets as a musician. Um,
Musician, organization, leadership skills, and like
yeah,
educational slash teaching skills
yeah,
that we were
um,
like looking for.
for sure, yeah, and I gained a lot of those skills. So it's like they're like, "Oh, like this would be helpful." He's good with kids. He's good with just talking to people. He's good with music skills. He has a lot to provide, basically,
Yeah.
and they needed the help. So they were very eager to train me up quickly, become a youth leader. So Gopmo, we were talking about was that like that training camp where you kind of transition from brown scarf to red scarf, basically. Um, and that was probably like one of the busiest times of my life.
I was.
um,
Yeah. Yeah.
it, it
It was
was
very
crazy. I remember
busy.
going to Jonathan and be like, "Bro, I'm so busy, bro. I don't know what I'm talking." I remember being like that.
It was so bad.
So
Yeah.
it was because I was for a little extra context, I am a music therapist in Oklahoma.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I was going back for grad school to like just become a better music therapist, basically.
Oh yeah.
Um, but as a grad student and graduate assistant who's also a music therapist at my school, they had me do a lot of schoolwork to keep up with classes, a lot of supervision for students who are like student music therapists who were developing. Um, and then I was this Tune was basically an extracurricular on top of all that.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
It felt like that for
yeah,
me
like
too.
for sure, yeah.
Oh
Like
yeah.
if this is almost like a part time job for some of us. So
Yeah, you're not
so for
wrong.
someone who's already working and going back to school, this was like a lot of extra work to like manage. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, I was doing a lot of that
Yeah.
on top of this, and when I was with my group because we have like specific teams for
Hmm.
this camp. Um, I had a lot to provide too. So there were a lot of things I was organizing, and my friends were else helping organize other things. Um, yeah, so it was just a very busy time.
Oh yeah. I
So,
bet. I bet. Um.
oh, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was agreeing with you because like during those late night study sessions that we would have together, you'll be like up all night, like you're practicing your dancing and then like choreographing it, but like also like trying to write a script like real fast, like you were typing.
Mhm. Oh yeah, no, I
I was
remembered.
like, what?
Yeah, so we do a skit based off of a Bible story.
Hmm.
We did one on like the guy Moses, and Pharaoh, like the Egyptian king who enslaved a bunch of people, basically.
Yeah.
But I remember because we were collaborating with a team and another team, um, and it was like at a point where the other teams were not keeping up. Like they
Uh.
were hoping that we would carry.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I remember that.
and by we, it ended up being me.
You shall not. No wait, I forgot your famous line.
My heart is hard, and what was it? Hold on, that was the first part.
It's
I
my
was so into it. My heart is hard. I
so.
will not set the Israelites free. Something
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, that one, that
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I remember that. That was a good one. We made fun of you
Yeah. I
for a while
remember
for that one.
when I was given the role of Pharaoh because I was Pharaoh. That's why I was saying all that. I remember I was like in a call with my team, and they were like, no, no, no. I
No,
had to go eat
yeah,
dinner.
you
And
had
they're
to
like,
go
oh, yeah,
eat.
don't worry. We'll figure it out like while you're gone and talk about it with you. And I go back up and
They gave
I
you
see that like I was
hardest,
assigned Pharaoh. And I'm like, guys, why am I Pharaoh? And they're like, oh, like, because no one wanted it. So we gave it to you. I'm like, what?
and
You
you,
didn't get a
yeah.
choice. They're
Oh
like,
my gosh.
well, you're kind of like a Pharaoh. And I'm like, you can't just say that. He was a bad dude.
Oh my
He
god.
enslaved a bunch of people.
Yeah, I like how they assumed that you would like pick up their slack for them.
Oh yeah, around that time, because we were discussing with the other teams, and like I said before, it was basically to the part where our team was having to carry it. Um, I was like, okay, if we need to put this together quickly, I can write the whole script, treat it like a little like a little bit of a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Um, um, I won't get into it, but basically, I wrote that whole thing and
Oh
directed that
yeah.
whole thing
Oh
and
yeah.
taught everyone that whole thing. It was a lot of work
Yep.
because I had to direct it to people who didn't even like look at the script or
Or even
understand
listen.
some of the instructions. So we did it. We did it, and I was very proud of. We were very proud of how it turned out. But yeah, definitely a lot of hard work
You know,
put that whole thing together.
during that camp, I can remember your role, but I can also remember a specific role, and I love this role a lot.
Trying to remember
It
my specific role or someone else's role.
it was yours, and then like the other person who did it, and I forgot their name, but I know what role they did.
Yeah,
It
I
was a
remembered.
donkey.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was a
So I remembered
donkey.
that there was a donkey because there was another part of like the 10 plague story or something around that Moses time where like there was a donkey
Oh yeah.
and there was a dude who was throwing it back, bro.
Oh yeah, I
He
remember. That
was
was a wild
that guy
time.
was crazy. He put his all into that role.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I initially thought I was gonna get in trouble for how we did as Pharaoh because even though we made it through with the skit, we held it together with like
All the
glue,
seriousness.
thumbtacks, and like yarn. It was like we barely made it through. Like it was barely
Oh yeah.
like coherent enough.
Hmm.
But I remember like the next day they were like, "Hey, who was Pharaoh?" And my teammates would tell me, "Hey, dude, they're looking for you." And I'm like, "Oh shoot,
Yeah, oh yeah. I
I'm
remember that.
guys, I think I'm dead, bro. I'm not making it." But
Yeah, but you got an award for it, so that was it. That was
yeah,
good.
no, we had an award ceremony after to basically congratulate people for, like special honors for the skits, right?
Yeah, yeah, like we have.
And they were like, "Best actor goes to Joseph Q. Farrow." Oh my gosh! And I'm like, "What?" I
Yep.
was not expecting it. I thought I was gonna get in trouble. I was like, "Oh, they're gonna call me out right in front of everyone during our awards ceremony." I get it.
Yep.
But yeah, a lot of hard work. But yeah, like that Gap Malt camp was just like a big example of like how much work they put to get to us. It's very meaningful work, but it definitely comes with a lot of blood, sweat, and tears too. But
Oh yeah.
it's something that we really appreciate.
Oh yeah. Let's see. So on to our main topic for today. We were planning to talk about movies that we've
Yeah,
watched over the years, right?
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
We brought this up because when I was in grad school, I didn't have enough time to like watch a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
But now that I moved up to the city for my new job, I finally have a lot of time to like catch up on stuff.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
it's movie time.
So like during our we talked before we started the podcast, and you had two movies in mind, I believe. It was Inside Out and Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Hmm.
Yeah, but we can also add on to other movies that we watch.
Yeah, like we
Um,
watched some together too. So
yeah. So I'll let you start with whatever movies you want to talk, and I'll try to add some of my inputs in it.
yeah, well, let's start with the most relevant one
Yeah.
because the sequel just came out recently.
Oh yeah.
Um, I think
Inside
like three
Out.
or 4 days ago. Yeah, Inside Out. I watched
Inside
the
Out.
first Inside Outs. Um, very recently. I haven't watched the sequel yet, but the
Yeah.
reason I watched the first was because the sequel's coming out,
Oh
so
yeah.
I need to catch up.
So what? So why? No. How should I say this? Did you find anything enjoyable about Inside Out, the
Oh,
movie?
I loved it.
Yeah.
It was good.
Hmm.
As a music therapist,
Hmm.
or just like any therapist, like I think like the emotional awareness is such a um important skill for anyone to have.
Of course, of course.
Um, because we all got feelings, right? And we gotta
Yeah.
respect each of them. It's just how it is. So, I saw that movie and I was like, oh yeah, they just get it, and they put it in such a way that adults, teenagers, and even little kids can enjoy it and understand it.
Hmm.
Um, it was just a very competently put together film.
Yeah. Were there any favorite parts that you like about the movie? Like, for example, like how, I forgot some part, but I do remember one part where Riley, I believe that was her name, was about to get on a
Yeah,
bus, and joy and sadness were like teaming up together to whatchamacallit, restore and return like a memory.
Well, for sure, yeah. And there were
Yeah.
two parts that I really liked.
Hmm.
One was like probably my funniest part, and like another was like the most meaningful part,
Yeah.
like emotional part.
Hmm.
Um, the funny part was I remember so their family just moved up, right?
Oh yeah.
Um, to the new place.
Oh, are you talking about the
And
pizza?
obviously Riley's not happy.
Oh yeah.
Um, and at this point of the movie, there's enough exposition to
Hmm.
know, oh yes, there are emotions, and they have this little control system inside her head. Um, but like it's just how she's showing the emotions. They're just how they illustrate it.
Yeah.
Um, so like all the emotions, right? Like fear, joy, sadness,
Discuss.
disgust, and anger.
Yeah.
Um, and it gets to a point where she's a little frustrated about the move. So it comes out at the dinner table, um, and like the funniest reveal is showing that the parents have their own emotions too.
I do
I
remember that.
laughed I laughed so hard because it was the perfect time to introduce it because it was early enough to understand, oh yeah, she has emotions, and now you got to see, oh, they have emotions, and they
Oh yeah.
also look the exact same.
Ah yeah.
Just a little like a bit of a parent's footprint in each of them.
And I also do like how like there are other emotions that are like the ones in charge in like their brains. Like I believe for the mom, it's sadness who's in charge instead of joy. For Riley, it was joy, but I forgot which one was the dad.
Dad had a lot of anger,
Oh, dad
but
had
they were
anger in
like,
charge.
yes, it was
Uh,
primarily anger,
yeah,
but not like because he was angry. It was just like, oh, they all had different colors and like
yeah,
they were shaped like the anger one,
yeah, yeah.
and had mustaches too.
Yep.
Oh man, that scene got me so good because it was kind of like everyone who was watching that movie could relate to it.
Mhm.
My favorite line was "Put the foot down," like from the dad's emotions,
I remember
and I
that
was like,
they flip a switch and they're
"Oh, no one's gonna be happy," but everyone can relate. One person gets mad, and the other one is like, "Hey, stop."
like, yeah, I remember that. You also mentioned like another part that you like. You wanna give
Yes,
some, yeah, you wanna give some
yes.
context?
And this is for the very end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
By the time Riley, like spoiler if you haven't seen it, but like um, she was about to get on the bus to try to move away on her own
Mm-hmm.
back to Minnesota.
Well, she was trying to run
Um,
away. Yeah.
yeah, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Realizes, oh wait, no, I can't. So she goes back home.
Mm-hmm.
She goes back and she's crying. Like, hey, to be honest, I just missed Minnesota. I want to be back.
Mm-hmm.
And then her parents are like, me too. And like that moment got me really hard. Because in that moment, the parents could have been like, "You're wrong. We have to stay here," but they were like, "No, we get it."
Yeah, yeah.
um, Gave her a hug, and then in her mind, um, joy allows for sadness to steer the emotions in this moment. Um,
I like how they entangled their emotion together too. Like how they, I believe like she was feeling like a mix of like sadness for like missing the place, but also the joy that her parents are like, oh yeah, understanding of her.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
100%,
yeah,
and that's why this movie was so important to so many people because you could be like, oh, but sadness makes me feel sad, so I need to take away my sadness, and you can't just do that.
yeah.
You
No.
feel less human if you lose those emotions. They're all a part of you.
Hmm.
Um, so that's why, like, when they justified sadness in that moment to help bring people together or to empathize with people, I thought it was such a beautiful
Yeah,
message that all your emotions are important. Um, so I think every kid would be happy or better off having watched this movie because
hmm,
they need to know like all emotions are important. Just because you're mad or sad and that's a bad emotion doesn't mean you got to shut up.
hmm.
Um, they're all important. So um, it was just a beautiful message. So yeah, really glad about that climax in the movie. So
Yeah. So I also like how they did the sequel to it too. the sequel to Inside Out, even though I haven't
Oh
watched it
yeah,
yet. But
yes.
yeah. You
Yeah, I
want?
haven't seen it either, but I have seen the trailers. And I think I love the concepts so well because the hardest part about being a teenager is puberty.
Hmm.
Um, and your body goes through so many changes, right?
Yeah,
Where
yeah,
your body has a hard time adjusting to those changes because they're so drastic.
yeah,
You're growing in a lot of different ways. So when that happens, your mind actually has a harder time managing your emotions.
yeah.
Um, so that's why, like in the trailer, where what was it, anxiety,
Hmm.
envy, ennui, which is basically a euphemism for depression,
Yeah, yeah,
and embarrassment come in. They're like, "Oh, we're taking over," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, that makes so much sense."
yeah.
That's it.
But I was talking about like how they released it. Like they waited. So fun fact,
Oh yeah.
yeah, they finished the animation for like Inside 2, like I believe it was like a year and a half ago
Oh really?
or something like that. Yeah. Well, like they were like working on it and they were just going through and like touching some stuff up. But like I like how they waited to release it like a couple of years later, so like everyone could grow up and watch the movie to like to be like
Yeah, like because
yeah,
like their
yeah,
audience grew up by that point,
yeah,
right?
basically, yeah, that's
Um,
what I was trying to say. Yeah, I just couldn't find the
yeah,
word.
and I think it works out conveniently, I'd say,
Yeah,
because well, one, animation takes a long time,
of course.
um, very long time, and
Yeah.
the first one came out in 2015, which is almost 10 years ago now.
Hmm.
Um, but during that 9-year gap, we had COVID,
Oh
we had
yeah.
the writers' strike. Um,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
so I feel like this movie could have came out early. I don't know the full behind the scenes, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, but the fact that they
The
it did
weighted.
take another 9 years is very good and convenient because like what you were implying, their audience grew up,
Oh yeah.
but also by the time the animation was done, they can't just release it right away. They have to
They had to like
roll it out.
yeah.
Basically, they have to iron out, polish out things,
Hmm.
roll it out to all the theaters, um, distribute it, and that takes a long time too.
Of course, of
Um,
course.
and also a lot of marketing, which is like a whole phase two. Um,
Yeah.
so it takes a lot of time in general, but I think it's convenient that it did take that much time because Riley was 11 years old in the first movie.
And now
Um,
she's what? Uh,
she's a teenager. I'd say like
I want.
13 or 14
Yeah,
sounds about
I was
right.
gonna shoot like for 13 or 14 too.
Yeah, I think the trailer said she's 13. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, even though 9 years has passed, she's 2 years older in the movie, like continuity wise. But the audience
They grew up.
has either
Yeah.
like experienced puberty already, or at least most parts of it,
Or like
or are about to
yeah,
experience
yeah.
it. So it just works out
It does. It does.
perfectly. Yeah, I remember there was one fun little factoid.
Hmm.
The I think it was either the writer or the director. I think they're the same person. Um, Kelsey Mann, I think is her name.
Yeah, I
She
think so.
was saying when she makes more Inside Out movies, she just wants it to be about Riley's whole life.
Oh, that's
So
interesting.
she's like, I hope Pixar and Disney can let us do it, but I want to keep exploring Riley's life as like through each of her like the phases of her life. I don't think they said until death, but I think they wanted to imply like, oh, until like then the rest of Riley's life,
So
basically.
like going through the major points of her life, like marriage and like college and then marriage and then so on. This is
Yeah,
what I'm
for
trying to
sure.
say.
And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think I'm pretty sure that's what they said, but I think that would be so cool. It's kind of similar to what Toy Story did
hmm.
with Andy.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
remember that.
yeah, like it was like they observed his growth kind of from like a third person point of view. And in here they kind of do the same thing, but like those emotions are Riley, if
Hmm.
you think about it.
Yeah, yeah,
So it'd be really cool to see all of that too.
yeah. So moving on to the next movie, everywhere, no, everything, everywhere, all at once. That one movie was great. I that's all I have to say.
Oh, that movie got me real good.
Yeah,
Um,
well, yeah. I think the
that
camera work
movie,
was good.
Oh, the camera work was
Oh
great,
yeah, yeah.
and all the action too. Like
Oh yeah.
I know in like an era where we're trying to use too much CGI
Mhm.
and like cut a lot of shortcuts with AI and stuff.
Of course.
This movie felt very real, like there were people making a movie. Like
Yeah.
not too much technology. Like it had a well
I,
placed budget,
I think it
and
had
it
a
just
good yeah. It was a well
like it's
balanced
not like
movie.
yeah, it's not like Marvel budget, right? Where
Mhm.
like they spend way too much money on this movie. Um, it was well put together. Everything was well like managed. It looked good. So,
Yep. I can agree with that. And
oh, I looked at the budget just now just to confirm. Yeah, because like Marvel budgets are like
they're like in
they
the
used to be like
millions,
60
right?
million, but now they're
Yeah.
like 100 million.
Oh yeah. No, they're
It's
in the
I'm
millions
like,
now.
how can you spend that much money? Like, because this movie was around. It looks like a range 14 to 25 million budget.
Oh
Um,
wow. That's a
that
lot.
is like a fourth or a fifth of like Marvel movies
Oh
now,
yeah.
which is crazy to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
And ironically, this was produced by the Russo brothers, the ones who did Infinity War, Endgame.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, good stuff there. But dude, this movie was
That movie,
such a
yeah.
competent movie
That was,
too.
that was a good movie. And I like how they gave, not to be biased, okay, not to be biased or anything, but like I like how they gave the Asians like a chance for the spotlight, because I
Oh,
believe that
dude,
whole cast
yeah.
was all Asian. That
Yeah,
whole cast
like
was all Asian.
Michelle Yeoh like was in there. She's really good.
Hmm.
Um,
I
Ke
remember
Huy
that.
Kwan, like from he
Indiana
was
Jones.
in Indiana Jones
Yep,
as Short Round, I think was his name.
I believe. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like he was known for that role, but now he's known for this and more.
Oh
Like
yeah,
this was such a just a powerful movie. Um,
yeah. So I.
basically about like a broken Asian family,
Hmm.
um, becoming a better family through like this multiverse like plot.
Yeah, and it would, well, I want to say that it describes. I don't want to say. I don't want to say that it describes most of the Asian culture, but like it describes a good chunk of it.
I think it described a lot of like the family
Yeah, the
issues that
family
have,
issue. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, family
yeah,
issue.
because especially like in a multicultural context,
Mhm.
um, because they talk about this family immigrated from China,
Mhm.
um, to here, and then they have a Chinese American girl. um, a lot of conflicts like that they might face, like LGBTQ children,
Yep.
um, parents becoming more emotionally sensitive to their kids, um, a lot of generational trauma, depression, a lot of stuff like that, and it shows that this family can overcome it all, which is
Yeah.
very inspirational for like because that is kind of the curse for a lot of Asian families. Um, if they don't know how to handle all of those things.
You want to know what threw me off though? They didn't shoot for the Asian stereotypes in some part, because I don't remember any Asian stereotypes opening or owning a laundromat. I don't remember if we're known for that.
There weren't any particular stereotypes, but yeah, then again, this was also directed by
The Russo
Daniel
brothers, yeah,
Kwan,
I believe.
who
I
was
don't know.
I think he did. I don't know if he did any other like Asian based works. I know he did like Swiss Army Man.
Uh huh.
Um, but knowing that there was an Asian director with a lot of Asian actors and a lot of um, just good movie producers,
Mhm.
um, I think they knew what they were doing. It never felt like there was a stereotype.
Yeah, yeah.
I know Michelle Yeoh obviously put up more of a Asian mom accent.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Um, she doesn't talk like she does in the movie.
yeah. No,
um,
with
at least not with her English accent.
uh,
But there was a lot of like that. But you get the clear idea of an Asian family. I think the only thing that was like really a stereotype
I
was like like they owned a very low
Asian.
income business.
Yeah,
Like they had a laundromat.
yeah.
And then there was also like Yeah, the comments that an Asian mom might make to her children, like they do make it a point to say, "You're too fat. You need to
Oh,
like eat less."
or like get a better education or something like that.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
stuff like that. But like nothing that felt like, oh, this is offensive. No,
yeah,
because I think most Asians looked at it and were like, oh yeah, I've experienced this
yeah, yeah.
in my life. It felt validating and not like, oh, they're mocking us.
So we're about short on time here, but there is one more movie that I want to talk about.
Yeah,
And this is a movie that we recently watched together, and I'll let you guess what movie that is if you want.
Spy Family Code White.
Yeah, Spy Family Gold White. Let's hear some thoughts about that.
I love that movie, bro.
Oh, that movie was good. That was a movie. That movie was good.
Yeah,
I
it was.
I believe the same animation company of Attack on Titan animated that movie too.
Yes, Wood Studio. And there was
Wood
another
Studio.
studio
Yeah.
too, but I remember Wood Studio more because you see a lot of like dynamic camera angles in there.
Yeah, I believe they were in charge of the fight scenes, while the other studio was in charge of like the transitional scenes, like of like
Hmm.
people walking back and forth and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah. What was your favorite part of the movie?
My favorite part.
Hmm.
Let me think. There were a lot of good parts.
I,
Basically, if you like Spy Family, like any part of Spy Family, you
mhm,
notice that like it stays fairly consistent. Yeah,
it
you get the
does.
same Anya jokes, you get the same Lloydisms, you get the same your like bad cooking and like scared your jokes.
And then like
Um,
super powerful your joke.
yeah, like you get all of that in this movie.
Oh
It's
yeah.
basically more Spy Family, but a highly produced movie.
Yep.
Um, I really liked the fight scene between Lloyd and like the captain of that ship.
Oh yeah,
Um,
where they were both disguised as each other or something like that.
yes, as disguised as each
Yeah.
other. Because there was one part that reflected the opening, like the first opening, where it was like these dynamic colors, like a lot of purple, green, yellow.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I was like, oh, this is just like the opening, but it looked so good. They committed to it for like a good few minutes.
Yeah.
Really good stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So I guess my favorite scene, and the only reason why it was my favorite scene is because of my younger brother, my little brother, who drank a bunch of ice and soda to go to the bathroom, and you miss the scene. My favorite scene in that movie, spoiler alert, was the poop god scene.
oh man.
It was where Anya, the little girl in the movie, was using the restroom. She had to use the restroom, and she didn't want to use the restroom because if she used a number two, they will get this microchip that they needed for some reason. I forgot why they needed the
Yeah,
microchip,
she
but like
ate this
yeah,
food that they illegally smuggled, like the bad guys in
it was
the movie.
chocolate. It was chocolate.
Yeah, like they smuggled it inside this chocolate. Like, oh, it's just an innocent chocolate, but she somehow got her hands on it and ate it, and then
Oh
now she's their problem.
yeah, but yeah, that was one of my favorite scenes in the movie. My other was probably most likely the your fight though. That was my favorite
oh
scene.
yeah, that one was so good.
That was it had a lot of dynamics camera angles.
Hmm.
Some that I would like to use during like my filming, but like I also like the colors and like how they animated the fight. So
Hmm.
yeah.
It was just a beautiful movie. Like they knew how to make a good looking movie.
Oh yeah, that was
One
good.
small joke that I really liked in that movie.
Mhm.
Remember that time where Anya went out to like find the bad guys to, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
try to get
Jason. Yeah,
the last ingredient? Well, she left a note for like the family, like, "Oh, I'm gone, right?
yeah, yeah,
I'm gonna complete the mission."
yeah.
And then when when Yor and Lloyd realize, "Oh, Anya is gone," they go up, see the open window where she like jumped out of to leave.
Mhm.
They see the note she left, and they're like,
Yeah.
"It's a note from Anya. What does it say?" I can't read it.
I remember that one. That was a funny scene too. That was a funny scene too. That was a good scene. What else about that movie? We have a couple of seconds left before we have to end this. Well, I can't think of anything. What about you?
I think my favorite part was like Jacob was clearly the most into that movie.
Oh yeah, but
And like,
he
we
missed
all were
the
able to
good
laugh about it
parts.
together. But like every picture I took of that day, like Jacob was like popping off.
Oh yeah.
Even by the end of the day, Jacob was like, "That was the best day ever.
Oh
I
yeah.
watched the best movie and I ate ramen." Like he was like happy about everything.
Yeah. So we're about to end this. So do you have anything to say to our audience?
Yeah. Well, tell us what you think, and
Hmm.
if you'd like to be a part about it, you can definitely DM Jonathan
Just put it in
for
the
more.
comments. Put it in the
Or if you want
comments.
more of me, then you can say that too, and then maybe I could get together with Jonathan again.
Oh yeah. Well, whoa, 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 whoa. We're not like that, man. We're not like that. We're not together.
So.
Anyways, thank you, Joseph, for joining our episode of 1 Hour Away. I'll hope to see you and the folks at home next time. All right. See ya.
Thanks for having me here.
Yeah. Peace.